Hey everybody, it's me again. This is the Carl Experience, episode 2 or season 2, episode 18. I'm dreading making this video right now because my wife will probably call in the middle of it somewhere or in the next 10 minutes because her store can't keep their shit together long enough to take regular breaks. So I'll probably end up re-recording this at least until she's done calling, in which case then I can relax because then, yeah, they trade on and off breaks and all this kind of crap. So I never know when she's going to call. She's been at work for 30 minutes and randomly called me after 30 minutes saying, "Oh, I'm on break." Okay, why the hell? Anyway, in the background, I was watching Dr. Phil, so I just decided to leave it on. I probably should just hit mute. That way there's no noise. So if I have to stop this video, then it's a pain in the butt. But I wanted to share with you guys some stuff today before we start digging in. We went to Big Lots the other day, and everything was going fine. We're looking at stuff. We get to the checkout counter, which, of course, they've got things taped off with blue painter's tape and signs saying this is where you're supposed to stand. Face shields, all the workers are wearing masks, all this kind of crap. As we're standing and where we're supposed to be standing, like literally we're supposed to be standing there, the gentleman who's in front of us is a kind of elderly 50, 60-year-old black guy who's wearing a mask. And we're standing where we're supposed to be. It's clearly marked where you're supposed to be. He is standing halfway between the one we're standing at, and the next taped off square, where he's supposed to be standing. He's telling us to move back up 6 feet, and I proceed to start exchanging words with him. And literally, one of the other people pointed out to him that he was standing in the middle of both squares. So, fuck him. And he started to feel, I want to live. I ain't trying to die. And I walk out with my daughter because I'm literally about to go up and shove him into the damn counter and then throw his ass out of the store. I'm just a normal, everyday consumer. But I refuse to put up with some asshole's fear about him not wanting to die. You're the one wearing a fucking mask. You're the one who's breaking the rule by not standing in the taped off area. But yet it's our responsibility to move for you so you don't die. I'm sorry, you're just going to get a big flipped up bird from me. That's about as much as I care. So we go outside before I really start going off. Then he comes outside and he went to Big Lots to buy curtain hangers. Literally. It's not an essential need. That's not something you will die if you don't have right now. But he goes up to this lady and starts talking to her and starts talking about how everybody's being crazy. Then he goes and picks up a penny off the fucking ground. This guy's worried about dying. He's going to pick a penny up off the ground. You can't have it both ways. You can't be wearing a mask and afraid of death, and yet you're picking up a penny off the ground. Well, that penny, for all you know, could have been dropped by somebody else or handled by somebody who had COVID. And that means he just infected himself. For a guy who's that damn worried, you'd think that would be right there. I exchanged words with him while he's calling me names, and finally I told him to F off and go get a life, go back to his house, and I yelled boomer to him a couple different times. He said, "Well, I'm trying not to die." Okay, boomer. Just to piss him off. I didn't care. I still don't care. Dude's gonna throw that much of a fit about not wanting to die, but yet he's not standing in the taped area. He's not doing this. He's not doing the other. He wants to be free to do whatever the hell he wants to do and fuck everybody else. Literally, that's his attitude: is fuck everyone else. You do what I want you to do. You stand where I want you to be, so that I'm safe. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're gonna catch COVID, you're gonna catch COVID. You're going out with a face mask on. And what's worse is he got in a brand new truck and sped off. This guy's, easily 50, 60 years old, and speeds off in his truck because he doesn't want to argue with me anymore. I'm not the one arguing. I'm just pointing out, dude, you can't be a shithead. You don't get to bully everybody because you have issues. Well, everybody being crazy. No, you're being crazy by forcing us to move back because you won't stand in the appropriate spot. Now, the second thing I'd like to talk about is the Corona hype. We've officially entered the era of Corona hype. And this is a massive, sheer, balding experience of stupid. Where, and yeah, I've listened to many people talk about, I watched this video, I found this out, blah, blah, blah. You know, I get this huge deluge of contradictory facts. And yes, I look up the facts when I try to look them up, and I try to look them up in a nonpartisan way. That way, I'm not following hype from Republicans or Democrats. I'm just following the numbers. Now, the problem with this is everybody seems to have their own set of numbers. Democrats, Republicans. I got a few independents. I got a few independent people who kind of lean to the right a little too much to be okay and still considered independent. I think it's bizarre because, like, I was looking up information on this crap before everybody else started going through this pandemic. Before we were on lockdown here in Wichita, Kansas, I had already looked up information. I was keeping up with the news because back in January, this COVID scare was a fringe news event. None of us gave a shit. Literally, none of us gave a shit because Kobe Bryant had just died. Killed in that helicopter accident. Meanwhile, I was like, yeah, he died. Okay, whatever. I wasn't a particularly huge Kobe Bryant fan. But now that it became... and the sad part is I was watching a press conference. I'm not sure when it was. But Trump comes out and asks the lady how many deaths were there before I said it was a pandemic, before we locked the country down. She couldn't answer that, and as far as I'm aware, we had at least 20 deaths that I know of. I'd have to go back and do the research, but the number has been changed a shitload to fit either our narrative or China's narrative, or somewhere between. There's a lot of hyperbole flying around. Me, I don't get it. Why doesn't everybody just stick with the damn numbers? Just stick to the numbers. Don't look around for excuses or blaming. Just like, I'm fond of saying this because I actually did look it up. Before the president announced the pandemic, the death toll wasn't as high here. In the United States, it wasn't that high. I think we had maybe 200 deaths. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but it wasn't too high. He announces it's a pandemic or an epidemic, and bam, people start dying in droves. Like, people can't stop going around each other. Now, I realize that the incubation period for this is 2 weeks or whatever, 4 days, 2 weeks, whatever the hell it is. And people at that point would have been exposed long enough for it to hit them. Okay, we'll grant you that, but still, at the same time, that's what I hate, is all this bad information flying around. I mean, I know of like 3 people with accurate numbers for all this stuff, and that's because those same people don't look for partisanship when it comes to finding out the truth. They do in other stuff, but not when it comes to numbers and epidemics and stuff like that. Just like I looked up the flu death rate last year. If I remember correctly, the flu death rate for last year was 61,099. And I've heard reports all over the place that being 90,000, all the people who actually died of the flu, as far as the CDC goes, is 61,099. Not 80,000, not 90,000, not 120,000. I'm just telling you what I found. And I went on the CDC website itself. And it is really sad that people are buying into all this hyperbole. They're buying numbers and facts that do not match up. I looked up more than one website, and the CDC website had the highest number at 61,099. There were a couple of different articles that were shouting out the Democrats are retards. They need to get back up on the boat because Republicans are the only ones doing anything about this illness, that illness. No, that's partisan reporting. If I find an article that says either side is just retarded, I stop reading it, because basically that person decided to, instead of being independent or being a reporter, they decided to be a political analyst of sorts. And yeah, I do think that politics plays a huge part in this epidemic of squamish vitriol. And what really alarmed, I think it was like a week ago, what really alarmed me, and this, you might disagree with this, but I don't care. All of a sudden, President Trump comes up in the news and says the president's power is absolute. Absolute. How is the president's power absolute? He's not a dictator. He's not a king, a despot. Well, he might be a despot. Time's going to tell on that one. But yeah, he's claiming that he has the right to answer any question he wants. Okay, but what about the uncomfortable questions? He wants to make everything seem all right, that we're strong, all this other junk. Well, the issue with that is you can't lie throughout your entire presidency, and your power is not absolute. Well, I'm going to restart the government. I'm going to restart the United States. Well, you gave that power to governors. And yes, there have been abuses of power, to be sure. Now, as far as like my state, Kansas, Governor Kelly prohibited people from gatherings of 6 or more people. And that's meant to shut down churches, bars, everywhere people can go. All of a sudden, you got all these people saying, well, it's infringing on my right to practice my religion. Yet, the freedom of religion means you are free to practice your religion, but practicing religion doesn't mean going to church. That's a rather confined, short-sighted, and narrow view of what religion should be. I mean, you should be able to worship your God or gods in a situation like this. You should be able to read the Bible, pray, witness to your other half, or just witness to God himself if you want to do that. There's nothing wrong with your religious freedom. We're not banning you from being religious. But I've noticed that, I looked this stuff up too, quite a few churches last week or Easter weekend, maybe before that, every time they congregate, a new outbreak or cluster of outbreaks happens with COVID-19 and that church gathering. So what does that tell us? Scientifically speaking, it means stop going to church until it's done. If you don't want people dying, then don't go to church. And yes, I know there's all kinds of people, well, I should be allowed to do what I want to do. And a lot of those people right now are baby boomers. Well, I should be able to go out and live independently. Well, so should all of us. It's not just you. You're at higher risk than I am. Why should I be kept from doing something I want to do because you're gonna die, because you could die easier from it? That's where it starts to blur the line. That's why I call this a corona hype and hyperbole, because it is. They've said so many things, and people have, I don't disagree with Trump's defunding of the WHO, the World Health Organization. I do not disagree with it at all, because the WHO, and that just sounds so stupid considering I grew up with the band The Who, it just sounds wrong. But WHO, HWO, they decided, and I spent hours looking this stuff up, They actually went along with China's version of what happened. Oh, nothing big. Bats weren't actually sold. Blah 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 blah. There's this whole narrative that they're creating with WHO, and now the president has stopped our funding of WHO, which I don't disagree with. I think if they're trying to help if they're trying to help China cover up something about this, why do they need funding from us? I mean, right now, China, if China had to pay back and make reparations for this one thing, I guarantee you, China would be broke and paying back money to us for the next 90 years. 90. Because they not only owe us, they owe all the other countries who suffered from massive COVID malfunctions. And that's why I think that WHO was a good thing to be defunded of. I mean, they don't need the money just to give us bad information. And yes, the WHO gave us bad information. And then Dr. Fauci, the guy who's up on the stage with Trump when they proclaim whatever. Well, Fauci, I want to say his name's Anthony Fauci. It just seemed to roll right off the tongue. But anyway, Dr. Fauci, who is a baby boomer himself, and who happens to have stock in the company that is involved with this hydrochlor whatever chemical it is that's supposed to stop COVID. Well, I haven't heard anybody saying for a fact it stops COVID. It helps to retard it maybe, but as far as curing it, no. And those people are like, well, it'll cure it. It hadn't been proven yet. If they can't give it to a series of people in one area and they're cured, then what the hell's the point? And yeah, we're pushing and pulling on strings we shouldn't be pulling on at this point because everybody just wants to get back to their normal life. I mean, there was a video today, I'm assuming from yesterday, of male nurses standing out in the streets, blocking cars from going because there's supposed to be a demonstration. Well, in order to have a demonstration, people have to do what? They have to congregate. I think people keep forgetting what the word congregate means. But, oh, sorry, I had to pop my knee. The people who were wanting to congregate, like, I don't know if you've seen the video. You might have. But this white lady, who is, of course, a boomer, she is easily in her 50s or 60s, whips out her sign and says Free Nation or some crap, and starts saying that they have the right to be there. They have the right to assemble. You cannot assemble or congregate given the requirements for health right now. It's not, I don't want anybody to be denied their freedoms. If you're really going to take this COVID scare as it's being presented to us, then present it correctly. Don't just, well, I have the right to do this. I have the right. If you can't go get a beer, you can't go get your dry cleaning done, you can't get your hair and nails done, then why should you be able to go to church? Why should you be able to gather in large numbers to protest? And despite what your constitutional rights may or may not be, you still have to remember it's a public health issue. Like with the Spanish flu that almost nobody remembers because almost nobody from that time is still alive. Almost nobody from that time is alive. But yet we're talking, sorry, I have to watch the parking lot for people now. But people forget that during the Spanish flu, I mean, I've read articles on it. Spanish flu killed a lot of people, and they were social distancing. I mean, the population in 1918 or whatever it was not even a half of what it is now. You're talking less than 3 billion people on the planet, and everybody's still social distancing, and a lot of people are still dying from it. That's how massacred this seems to be. And yeah, I want to go out and have a beer at a bar. I want to do all the stuff I should be able to do. But because of the scare tactics used in the media and everywhere else, you can't. Me, I get people who are saying, well, you don't have a pre-existing condition. You're right. And I shouldn't have to quarantine myself to avoid everybody on the planet. For all we know, I may be immune to COVID. Yes, there are people that are immune to COVID. COVID can't do anything to them. It hits their system, it tries to build up, and they piss or poop it out, and it's gone. They can't harm it. There's even a couple that's 80 years old. I forget where they live, but they actually found out that they are immune to COVID. Literally, they cannot catch COVID to save their ass. And they're supposed to be in the highest risk category, being 80 years old. And yes, right at the moment, they're looking for people who have had COVID and recovering to get their antibodies so that they can synthesize the antibodies so that we can stop this sooner. Okay, so we're social distancing. We're telling people if you already had COVID and you're recovering, throw us some antibodies that we can replicate them. Okay, but that doesn't mean we should all be quarantined. That doesn't mean shut the entire nation down because the senior citizens of the nation are scared of death. We should all be scared of death to a certain extent. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the stupidity of these inane, moronic, deplorable comments. All these stats and figures that everybody's shacking up with. And it's abhorrent. It's petty. It's stupid. Do I think that Dr. Fauci needs to be relieved of duty? Yes, I think he should be fired. He helped fuel this goddamn thing. Then we have the incident of people running out of food, money. They're running out of money and then food and all these other things. It's just this myriad of crap that happens to be going on. To be here pretty soon, we're going to not only will we be in debt, all of us, to a certain extent. If the nation is on lockdown, why are debtors going after debts? I know some of you haven't even thought about that. If we're on lockdown, we cannot go to work, we cannot make money, and we're going to get a stimulus check, whoop-de-fucking-do. The stimulus check will help those of us who have made solvent plans or made active plans to make sure we don't die or become homeless. Then when everything finally is due, they're going to, around here, there's going to be half the tenants that live within 3 blocks was going to have their bills turned off because they were too stupid to pay for them when they got their tax refunds. We took our tax refund and paid our stuff off. We're at zero. We just now got a late warning about our electric, and our electric bill is $37. Now, why do Trump is so dead set on jump-starting the economy? Okay, I get it. You want people to go back to work. I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, you cannot have us all going back to work while the debtors, everybody is owed money, is chomping at the bit. It's well, we're gonna do this with your thing, and then when this epidemic is over, you're gonna owe all the money plus the payment now. How is that saving anything? Just some people were getting their stimulus checks, and their stimulus checks would get eaten up because the person's bank account was in the red. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you're in child support arrears, or you have a zeroed out bank, if you have a bank account that's in the red, that red disappears first. If you got a bank account that's red, it automatically goes to that first. And some people are so in the hole, they just wiped out their entire check. They lessened their burden. I think it's the 4 big banks are the ones excusing that debt so that people can live and do everything. But there are companies that go after you, doesn't matter what's going on with the universe. The world's going to end in 24 hours. They still want their damn money. I say to those corporations, I would hope the government would cancel out that debt or tell them to take a fucking break from collecting. Now, yes, I have been the guy who goes out and collects things for nefarious people. That was a very long time ago. And that's the reason it got bright is because there's some ass parked out here, and the glare from his windshield is hitting me. That's why I look so bright right now. And I go back to here, and it goes, yeah, it's just really bright at this window. But yeah, this COVID scare is just utter lunacy. It's stupid. It's unnecessary. And to top it all off, it's ill-timed. You've got debtors trying to collect on bills. If we can't work, why the hell are we forced to pay anything? Like literally, there's things I could do, but I can't have anybody. We're not supposed to have anybody around or anything like that. And now they've started these sites where you can report people you think are breaking the COVID stay-at-home order. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, I was going to cover another subject, but I think I'm going to make that another episode, because this whole episode is just turned into me ranting about the corona hype, fact versus hyperbole, and what happened at the store when that 50-year-old black guy got on my nerves. And normally I don't have a problem. People don't make an issue out of it. But you're going to tell my wife, who works there, to back up 6 foot? No. You get on the damn square you're supposed to be on. You get on that and you stay on that. They will come and give you your change. But he's all worried about dying. No. He wants everybody to bow down and kiss his ass so he can do whatever the hell he wants to do. But anyway, we're going to have fun with this a little later on. So hopefully I might get the next one done up, which is going to be Modern Sexism versus Sexual Harassment. How fun. All right, peace out. Okay, this is continued because I was unaware 5 minutes after I ended the first part of this video. My wife called, so yeah, it was a little weird. I just happened to stop in time. Yeah, when I get this together, it's all going to be paired as one episode mashed up. So I have been having to look out the window because one of the neighbors that we had moved out, and he moved one of his friends in next to his apartment. Even though that neighbor moved out, his lease is up, and his friend also happens to be a dealer. So at the moment, we're trying to record and notice everything we can. Unfortunately, one of our neighbors who was helping us do that, she now moved out. So yeah, how she knows this guy's name and number and all this other crap, it's a little questionable. But anyway, we're trying to get this drug dealing asshat out of our housing community, because he shouldn't be living there without a lease, and he's doing it. He's moved in under the seemingly the perfect time. But yeah, I'm going to make the second part of the video about modern sexism and sexual harassment, if they're one and the same or different, which they can be considered both ways. And yes, my dogs are just being over ridiculous morons right at the moment. So having done that, let's see how far we can get before the wife interrupts this one by walking in. Now, sexual harassment is a horrible thing to do. The problem is the definition of it. Like, when I was growing up in the 80s, it was okay for you to pat or even lightly slap a girl's ass, to whistle, catcall, and girls did that too. Both sexes were rather promiscuous, if you will, about their praise, if you will. I'm not sure exactly how to best convey that in an appropriate manner. But yeah, that's what I grew up with. Is I could lightly smack a girl's ass. She could smack mine. She could pinch my butt. I didn't feel comfortable pinching her butt because, yeah, my grip's harder, I guess, or something. Yeah, it was an ordinary thing back in the 80s. I'm not saying it was right, but that's just how I grew up. That's the era I grew up in, is you didn't go up to a woman and just start ripping her clothes off and take her right there. It was still, you both are patting each other on the butt or pinching each other's asses, winking, all sorts of sexual innuendo. If you're doing that, then yeah, you're gonna, at some point you'll probably be ripping each other's clothes off. But now it's gotten to a point where some guys don't even go that far. They literally just start ripping your clothes off and have at it because they want what you have and all that. I'm not condoning what was done back in the day. There's another trek. There are like 4 vehicles in this whole plot crap. But yeah, this sexual harassment didn't actually become a gigantic swathing thing. It didn't become a huge deal until the mid to late 2000s. That's when people really started to hump the boat on it, if you will. Yes, there are obvious sexism things on different jobs depending on what you're doing, but sexual harassment on the job didn't become a huge thing until the middle to late 2000s. How do I know this? Because I was working in different places in the mid to late 2000s, and I ordinarily didn't touch anybody anyway. I was too busy, working all those 8-hour jobs and smoking cigarettes and sometimes getting drunk and stoned to make it through the weekend because I didn't work during the weekends. I had the regular 9 to 5 job or whatever you want to call it back then. And yeah, it was a whole different thing. I mean, come the mid 2000s to the late 2000s, all of a sudden it's, well, you have to watch this video now. And the video was covering sexual innuendo, talking about sex, talking about people performing sex on you or you performing sexual acts on them. I didn't grow up being ashamed of doing what I was doing because everybody did it. Mom, dad, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, all those people. They all, every single one of them did it. And for those of you who are like, well, my grandparents didn't, well, you may have grown up in a secluded family, but like both my grandmas could be watching TV, which my grandma on my mother's side, she really didn't have TV. She watched the news. That's about it. The rest of the time, they were listening to old timey Great Depression music back in the 80s. Tells you how old she is, huh? She was quite the ravishing looking young lady back then, but that was decades ago. We're talking Titanic old, okay? But now, at the same time, well, like with my dad's mother, she tended to do it on the down low. But yeah, nobody paid attention because everybody was doing that. Married or not, you were still making comments about somebody's ass or some comment about their body, whether it be good or bad. So I grew up in that era, and my mom kind of just ran it into the ground with me not to touch anybody. That way, nobody could claim that I was doing anything inappropriate. So, in the course of me working over many years, of course, I have seen coworkers have sex in a bathroom. I've seen literally most of the crap people are going to do. I've seen coworkers strip down and get it on in the kitchen or in a warehouse or whatever, they're opportunistic. And I never could figure out why they were allowed to get away with it. But I touch another woman's ass. She's smiling at me. She's winking at me, doing all this other stuff. I pinched a girl's butt one time at work. And next thing you know, I'm being talked to in the office. There's nobody in this factory building except me and her. She was throwing out hints. She was twitching her hips. She even groped her own boobs. And next thing you know, I was taken in the office for pinching her butt one time. And she'd been smacking my ass, pinching my ass multiple times, lovingly caressing her hand across my shoulders while she was walking by. All sorts of different crap. I pinched her butt once, and I'm the one in trouble. And there were no cameras back then, at least not in some of the warehouses I worked at. But yeah, why did she get away with everything, and I pinch her butt one time, and all of a sudden I'm getting talked to? So I told the employer it would never happen again, and I swear to God, is like, he whips out a Bible. It's like, if I whip this Bible out, are you still going to say it? Yeah, he made me do that. He made me swear on the Bible that I wasn't going to do anything else sexual towards her, and I did not. After that, I didn't talk to her. I didn't exchange looks. She looked at me and smiled. I just gave her a blank look and kept on working. And then after that job was done, I ran into her like a day or two later. She's like, well, why'd you stop working? My job ran out. Well, why did you stop flirting? Because you fucking reported it. Well, you pinched my butt really hard. It's like, no, I didn't. I was barely pinching your butt. Well, we can still get, it's like, well, now that we're not working together, yeah, of course I can do whatever the hell I want and not have to worry about the company going down, trying to go off on me. But yeah, after that, don't touch any coworkers. If we're not on a job site and we're not on the clock, you throwing hints at me and all that. Okay, but yeah, no, at the job site, screw that shit. Now, that's the sexual harassment part of it, but sexism is now turning into harassment. And sexism works literally both ways. There's quite a few men who are still sexist, and there are women who are still sexist. The problem is, which one is which? Like, I have far too many friends who grew up watching Leave It to Beaver, Ozzie and Harriet, the whole nine shebang of shows that came out in the 1950s and 60s that were based on America back in the 30s. This world didn't exist even when it came out. That world went extinct 20 years before. And yeah, now there's all kinds of news going off on the TV. I can read, luckily, really fast. But yeah, there's all that crap about COVID. But back to my point that I was making. Women are now just as likely to report, are just as likely to be sexist as men are. Everybody assumes men will be like, well, she's got nice boobs, a nice body, nice booty, whatever the case is. Guys who say that, and now women are women when they say, well, the guy's got to have so much money, he's got to be able to do this, this, and this. He's got to own his own car, his own home, blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, that's being sexist too, because you're not only being economically shallow, you're being romantically shallow because you won't give out any romance unless there's money attached to it, unless there's actual benefit, monetary benefit, and security there for you. Now, anybody who's been poor in their life knows that that's not the way that works. But this is modern sexism. Modern sexism is the girl had better be perfect for the guy, and for the girls, that guy had better be loaded before I date him. Well, if he's loaded, why is he chasing you? And yeah, that, like those videos you see, those prank videos you see that are meant to show a lesson about women who, I've seen one where a couple has got a baby in a stroller and they're walking, and some guy, the host of whatever is going on, he's asking for help, all this other crap, and then she tells the other half to go and take the kid home because she's going to try to help. and then the guy ends up having a nice car, a really nice car, and the chick's like, "Oh, this isn't even serious. We weren't really working out. That's his baby, not mine." All because the guy had money. I mean, that's sexism in itself. Most people are like, "No, that's gold digging." No, if you're going out with somebody for monetary gain, that's being a sexist. That's, you could describe it as being a gold digger, which it is, but it's also sexism. And sexism takes a whole lot of forms, and that's the problem. I think we've elevated our standard to the point of stupid and retard at the same time. Like, they haven't conjoined them, they haven't been separate in a while. So, and like one of the when I was working at the Home Depot, there were a few ladies there that I thought looked pretty good. They were pretty hot looking to me, probably not to everybody else, but you take a glance every now and then. You don't just, staring at somebody's boobs or ass or hair or whatever it is. Glance over respectfully. Sometimes you even come over and sometimes you even go start a conversation just to say, "Hi, how you doing? I'm the associate working in this department." And you talk for 5 minutes and you go back to work. There's no harm in that. There's no sexual harassment. You're getting to know people. While on the other hand, I've seen those ladies walk in to the business with whoever the hell they're with. I'm not sure if it's their friends, boyfriends, whatever, and they're grabbing ass and doing all kinds of stupid sexual crap in front of people. And yet, if a guy even looks at them wrong, they're like shouting at the top of their lungs and they're being sexually harassed. No, if you're doing stupid stuff and some guy makes a comment about it and you get triggered, you're probably the issue. But yeah, I'm trying to rack my brain as to why modern sexism works the way it does, but I don't think I'll ever quite get that far with it. I've even tried a few thought experiments. It doesn't work. Everybody seems to have this sexist thing. Do I think women should stay home, be barefoot and pregnant, and keep the house clean? And the list goes on. No. I think our roles have become more fluid than that. There are certain jobs that a woman can do a lot better than a man, only because they have an inherent ability to do certain things better. Like, you wouldn't want a guy wet nursing your child. Seriously. You wouldn't want it. It would be weird. It would be messed up. Just like when people were saying that, for instance, like the transgender community, somebody posted an article about taking the uterus out of a woman who wants to donate her uterus to science or whatever, and they use that in a trans woman after impregnating and leaving a fertilized embryo in said uterus or whatever, and them coming to full term. The biggest issue I have is, okay, the only issue I see there is if you still have a penis and yet you're getting a uterus. Now, it would only be for post-operative trans women. You've had the surgery to get a vagina. But I'm still shocked. I'm still learning. Some people that came out as gay and are now trans said that one of the ways in which they were humiliated was they were raped by straight men. I'm having difficulty processing how you can be a straight guy, bash somebody who's gay, and then either sodomize them or rape them, and you're not the gay one? The logic does not make any damn sense. You can't, if you're a straight white guy, doesn't matter if you have wife or kids or not, and you rape like a gay man, doesn't that in fact make you gay? Doesn't that in fact switch the sides? I mean, how does raping somebody with a penis when you have a penis anything less than a homosexual act of aggression? Yes, I know there are certain gay people who do that stuff. I'm not dissing them in any way. I mean, what you do in the privacy of your own bedroom is up to you. But I'm talking about the whole rape contingency, I guess. This glorification, well, he was a faggot, so I fucked him up the ass. Well, why would you do that? Doesn't that make you the same thing that you're persecuting him for? Well, it's to teach him a lesson. It teaches him nothing. That's how he has sex. That's how he performs sex, is that method you just did. You didn't do it lovingly, so yes, it would count as rape. I get that. But the person perpetrating the act, it makes no sense. It's like, you sodomized him to punish him for being gay, but the act itself is the way that 90% of gay people, or gay men, make love. Is it me, or do I smell skunk shit coming on? Now, I'm going to talk about rape in a different podcast. I'm only pointing this out to point out the sexual harassment and the sexism. If you hate gays and you feel the need to teach that gay dude a lesson by raping him anally, committing sodomy, that not only makes you sexist, it makes you stupid in my book. But yeah, I'm fairly sure I'm not completely done with this one. I haven't X'd this subject line off, but we're going to come back to it later. I'm not sure what the next episode is going to be, but I really do enjoy talking about the stupidity flying around today. So have fun. Bye.